Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Fowler, and it is great to be here. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 startups, been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company. Love artificial intelligence, quantum computing, blockchain, because we all know data is all around us. I'm the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley, Palo Alto. So it's with great pleasure that I'm hosting today, and it's great to be here. But I'd like to introduce my guests, Tony Evans and Alexis Sheikh. So, Tony, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Alexis.
Thank you, Gary. I'm Tony Evans. I'm a serial entrepreneur just like yourself and an investor. I've been involved in the blockchain business going on 6-7 years now. My background's been in wealth management in Asia, based out in Tokyo at the moment. Have a crypto blockchain company here in Tokyo with my business partner, and we have operations globally, looking at the space, and just exciting as the whole industry is moving towards it, and quite adaptive what we're talking today. So
great to have you here today. Thanks, Tony. Alexis?
Yes, Alex Sheikh, Supercap Digital Partner, and also DLT Capital. At Supercap, we have $2 billion in assets under advisement. And at DLT Capital, we have raised 1 billion euros in 50 DLT projects.
Fantastic. So here we are. We're talking about blockchain. You know, the buzz of today. But what's the real deal? What industries, Tony, do you see are going to really be impacted the most? If we take 1 to 5, what do you think?
Okay, one of the main ones is the medicine is one of the main ones we've already seen being adapted. Finance, of course. With the uptake now of NFTs, the other one is the art industry, but also I believe the luxury goods market is moving towards that as well, to actually take the whole blockchain on top of it. The other industry which I see a huge movement is HR, because this is where AI and computers moving towards as well, and can do the jobs where individuals will take weeks, they can take minutes or hours. So these are the main ones I can see.
Alex, so what's the deal with blockchain? What does blockchain really give you? So let's take the medicine, right, and health tech. What does it really give you? Why does it make a difference?
I'm not an expert in any other field than fintech, but in healthcare and life science, the main issues is the patient security, and also to be able to diagnose the illness correctly, as to my very small knowledge in this area.
The idea is, think about it. We have things like the HIPAA requirements in the U.S. where we need to have patient security, but imagine having a really streamlined process, because that's really the heart of it, is the patient information. How do we disperse it? How do we keep it secure? And how do we make sure it's accurate? So let's talk about fintech a little bit. What's happening with blockchain and fintech?
Yeah, we're focusing mainly on the financial services side, and there you can see the main issue that will be solved by blockchain is mainly the cross-border payments, more secure, more efficient, and faster. You can also see trade finance, all sorts of direct credit lending, issues of letters of credit, etc., etc. Insurance, also a closed industry within the same space. You have to issue contracts. You have to be secure in issuing the right contracts to the right party, and it's also fraud protection.
Yeah, no, I agree. Fraud protection, and is the business, Tony, how big is, you're involved in this space. How big is it and how fast is it growing today? I mean, are we in the infancy? Are we coming up to the adolescent stage? Is it mature? Where are we with it today?
I think we're still in the infancy, Gary. And the part of it is we still believe that the whole internet is now already developed and grown. Yeah, but if you look at online shopping, for instance, okay, the online shopping is only still around 25% of people's daily shop. So even with an industry that's already been so mature, we're in the infancy. If we look at the actual fintech, the whole blockchain part of it, we're in the infancy here. We have, as Alexis said about credit payments and stuff like that, we have a whole world of payments to go through. Okay, people still think MoneyGram is still quite interesting. If you're not in the field, you understand exactly what MoneyGram is and how MoneyGram is so backwards. I believe there's so much opportunity. You just have to look at it. It's the eyes and the entrepreneurs in it that will develop the marketplace, because the need and the demand is there.
So, you mentioned MoneyGram. So just for the audience, paint a picture. With blockchain, without blockchain, how does it compare to MoneyGram, for instance? What does it do? What difference? What's the upside? What kind of efficiencies do we get with blockchain versus MoneyGram?
Okay. The first one is the ability, you don't have to work on people's hours. That's the main thing, okay? MoneyGram is restricted by certain working hours and also physical locations, okay? So that is one part. It gives the choice of people to do so. It's also not restricted by the actual bank's time schedule, okay? We're not talking just about MoneyGram's time schedule. We're also talking about the time schedules of the banks, and not just in one country, okay? Operations in Asia is different to in Middle East and vice versa. So the thing is, it's a complicated system, and because it's complicated, it allows them to not process the transaction as fast as you would expect. So using the fintech solutions, you're able to do it anytime you want, okay, to any individuals you want at any time. So that is one of the main thing, and I do believe that time is one thing that the whole industry is giving people. Okay, that's the only constant between everybody in the world, is we all have 24 hours in a day. We just need to use them more. Using blockchain and crypto has been one of the huge things to get processing payments and movement faster. More transactions means more business and more profitability, more efficiency.
Yeah, so I got a question for you, Tony. What about, we do a lot of work in quantum computing, and a quantum computer is 150. The fastest today is 158 million times faster than the fastest supercomputer. By that, I mean what would take 10,000 years on a supercomputer takes 200 seconds on a quantum.
Yep.
So they're talking about now by 2022, between 2022 and 2027, cracking Bitcoin. What do you think in terms of the blockchain? Because also the blockchain is could be a target. What do you think? I mean, do you have any opinion about quantum computers in blockchain? One is how we could work together or not.
It's an interesting question, Gary, and I'm a very simple person. Asking me about quantum computers, it's not my field. I'm in finance, but I understand where you're coming from. And I said to somebody that asked me the same question, it's like, think about 200 years ago, okay, when the modern technology then was military arms, okay? They had bow and arrows, and maybe they had a gun, okay? I'm just using this as an example. Technology moved forward. If you still use the same technology then, okay, to the technology we have now, it would not work, okay? It's the same thing as we're talking about quantum computers and everything like that. We have to adapt to survive in this world, okay? What man has made, man can break, okay? That has always been the quest. And if you even read anything from Alan Turing, he said the same thing. The quantum computers, there has to be a fusion between the quantum computer world, the general world, and the future. And I do believe that it is moving forward. if technology does not upgrade and come to the whole marketplace as such and evolve with the demands that the market is giving it, it will become obsolete. We've seen this with many companies, some of the domineering companies, like you look at Nokia, you look at Blockbuster, these companies were dominating, but they believed they could just sit back. This is not what the world is. We have to evolve, we have to move forward, and we have to invest. And it has to fusion. Fusion is what will make us much stronger and much more efficient. And there's so much possibility when that happens.
Yeah, no, that's great. So just for the audience out there, think of our world today. We have 49 zettabytes of data on the planet. So what does that mean if we painted a picture? If we took CDs or DVDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go 35 times between the Earth and the Moon. We are truly in a state of infobesity. At the same time, each one of us here today have about 300,000 items in your personal cloud. The entire World Wide Web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. Each one of you has more information in your own personal cloud than the web. And the challenge is that number is growing every year. That number is doubling. So it's gone from today, 300,000. Within 5 years, you'll have 10 million. Look at all the opportunities for blockchain. Look at all the opportunities to be able to keep your data secure, to make it move faster, to be able to share that information. The other thing is, 3 years ago, McKinsey said that 93% of the companies on a global basis were going to be going through the digital transformation over the next 10 years. Well, because of COVID, we've had to move very, very quickly. So we are in a state of infobesity. Having technologies like blockchain and quantum computers that make our lives more efficient or effective are going to be really important. So, Alex, your thoughts?
I like to follow the money, and if you focus on the cross-border payments, you can see that the cost of making a remittance were 5% up to 20% until now. With blockchain, you can reduce that cost to from 2 to 3% of total amount. And you can also do the so-called remittance, the transactions in real time. So that's a huge difference. For example, for the ones that are working abroad with low-paid works that are transferring money to their home countries, they will have a huge benefit through this blockchain use.
And what about, if we look at it, we have 1.3 billion people in Africa, 647 million people in Latin America. These are burgeoning markets. At the same time, the population of the planet will go from 8.1 billion to 13 billion by the end of this century. How does this really level the opportunities and democratize opportunities in places like Africa, Alex?
Yeah, it's we talked about this at an earlier event with Impact, and this is really about the unbanked people that you now can bank. You can have them have access to bank accounts. They can transfer money. They can make money. They can hold money in their accounts. So for in this emerging markets, it's a huge benefit for the poor people. It will give them a huge opportunities going forward in life.
And how about, what regions do you think are the best in terms of the opportunities today? Africa, different parts of Africa, Latin America. Where would be, if we look at the top three, where would you say, emerging the places to focus?
Well, if you just focus on the money again, Africa is the last untapped continent. So if you want leverage, then you go to Africa, but you also have high risk, of course.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Tony, your thoughts?
Yeah, Africa has a huge potential, but we're talking there's about 1.7 billion people around the world that's unbanked. Okay, I do agree with Alexi, and we have been focused on Africa for a long time ourselves because there is a huge potential there. but the potential is global. Africa is one of the main areas for it. Okay, Asia as well. Okay, even the Asia, Southern Asia, there's a huge potential here. So I don't think focusing on a certain region or anything, because the potential is global. That's the part where, as entrepreneurs, I think we're shifting from focusing on areas, because the whole world has gone so small, and COVID has made that even smaller, which is actually an advantage if you look at it and grasp it.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. But I mean, the infrastructure in places like Africa hasn't been set up to the same level that it has been in the Western or parts of the Eastern world. So they don't have the legacy systems that they have to deal with. You talk about MoneyGram. I don't know in Africa today where MoneyGram sits, but I think that not having those legacy systems really is an opportunity for those companies. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. It's basically in Western society and even Eastern, any advanced nations like this that has got the systems in place, it's actually dragging it down, because people always say, but I've already got this. They don't know the difference. If you go to an area that doesn't have all the legacy systems, it's much easier to embrace. It's much easier to roll out. People don't have the mindset of going, but what about my old way and this way and that way? And that is actually the advantage of it. And that's the part where I do believe Africa as a continent is very digital, in the sense that with mobiles, okay, this is where M-Pesa and everything came from. This is where it grasped, because this is where the demand is, okay. So this is where I do believe there's such an opportunity there. But the whole thing is, I agree with what you just said, Gary. It's like they don't have the old systems in place. So that's the part where focusing on it could be very, very profitable. And I bet Alexis is already there and enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, we see we're doing a lot of work down in Nigeria. There we are. We just had somebody reach out from Nigeria. We're doing a lot of work down in Nigeria. And you look at some of the companies like Patricia. In fact, the founder of Patricia was here. Here we are, it's been started grassroots. It's a $500 million company today from Nigeria. I mean, people don't realize the scope, I don't think, in terms of how many opportunities there are on the African continent. I mean, just Nigeria's got 206 million people. I mean, we're talking about robust opportunities and some really super intelligent folks. I mean, in Nigeria on Saturdays, they have AI Saturdays, right, where people come in. A lot of fintech opportunities, I'm sure that you're both aware of. Incredible fintech companies. So, we're in a dawn. And I don't know about each one of you, but, we've had a lot of challenges over the last 2.5 years with COVID. But we've learned one thing, that we need to work together and try to be able to solve these problems. A week and a half ago, I spoke at the United Nations on technology as a tool for peace. I think, one of these things, by bringing the unbanked up and to be able to help make a difference, it really does, democratize humanity and really brings it out. So I agree with you, Tony and Alex. Your thoughts, Alex? What about so where are you putting your money today? So you're putting your money on the fintech. What exactly is, like, if you could say this is the opportunity where I'm going to roll the dice, what would you say?
We focus mainly on DLT, and that means that today for us, credit lending is a very exciting space where you see huge upside. All fintech related plays, such as payments, you see the Swedish very large now bank, Klarna Bank. So there are many interesting things that you can focus on. If you want to follow money again, you can look at financial services, where you see in clearing and settlement, for example, there's an estimated cost savings per bank between 15 to 20 million US dollars per bank by using blockchain in operational costs, which will mean that the savings will be up to $175 million. So you can see that there's huge amounts of money in cost savings by using blockchain. More efficient, less time, less paper, more secure.
Alex, what do you think is going
etc.
to happen with the traditional banks, right? Because this isn't totally, the way that they had done business before, you would come into the bank, you would sit down with the loan officer, et cetera. But what's going to happen to these legacy banks that are out there that have been, there for a couple of 100 years? What happens to them? Is this going to, they either adapt or die, or, what's going to happen
they are actually using that principle to adapt or die. They are either investing in fintech related startups, or they're also looking at other options such as doing consolidations, mergers with others, etc. So it will be fewer players that will be much larger, and some fintechs will take on the new role, but it's a long way. It's only in the very early stage, so it's not really happening that fast as you hear on many events and forums, etc. The banks are still very strong. They have a very strong position.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel the same way. I mean, there's a lot of hype, but that's the beginning of the market, right? Before we cross the chasm, people get excited. I remember back in a number of years ago, 20 years ago, when I started one of the first e-commerce consulting companies, actually 22 years ago, people said, oh, it's never going to take off. Nobody's going to want to buy things online. Amazon's going to die. Barnes and Noble's just selling books, etc. But, things change very, very quickly. So we are in the beginning of crossing the chasm. These are great opportunities that are out there. One thing you mentioned, Alex, you talk about these banks we talk about adapting or dying and buying fintech startups or investing in them. But the one thing it's interesting is, Harvard created the first MBA, not to teach people how to do startups, but really how to manage. It's really counterintuitive, isn't it? And so these banks have to think differently. They have to look and innovate and look at these incredible technologies that are around them if they want to survive. And this is like the beginning of the 20th century, right? And alternating current came out. And this electricity out there, data is the new electricity. And opportunity for each and every one of us to dramatically change our lives. And blockchain is going to help us make it secure, help us to be able to get contracts done in a more efficient and effective manner. I mean, think about a loan, Alex. I mean, when you put the loan on a blockchain, a loan is an arduous process. It should never take you 6 weeks to get a loan, right? But with
peer-to-peer lending, peer-to-peer lending solves that on the blockchain basis.
But then why do you need a bank? You know what I'm saying?
No, you don't. With the credit lending that is executed on the blockchain peer-to-peer, you don't.
Yeah, you don't need a bank. So what happens to the banks, right? So they either adapt or die, but what happens? I mean, we're talking about I remember when I met with the folks at the Lending Club out in California, I don't know, about 7 years ago or so, right? You talk about entirely new model. And so how does a Citibank, for instance, how does some of these large banks, how do they come into this thing when they're not really, do they look for peer-to-peer companies and they get in that way? So they're not really a bank. They're just supporting the network.
Yeah, that is what I would do, because that's the most easy way to gain access to what's happening.
No,
and you can see that when you follow the money, that is exactly what they are doing.
Who's the most aggressive? I mean, do you know, in terms of the banks that are out there, if you could say, listen, these are a couple of banks that are really progressive and are really understanding that they either do or die. Anybody come up to mind?
More private equity. Blackstone are very aggressive, and then there are many other alternative investment firms that are going at it very, very hard now, because they see where the traction is coming and they want to get in early.
Wow, this is truly a brave new world, right? And exciting opportunities. And don't sit on your hands, startups, entrepreneurs, and investors. Go out there, make a difference. Check it out. Blockchain is going to change our lives, revolutionize the way that we do business, make us more secure in a whole lot of ways. What about blockchain and artificial intelligence? What do you think? Where's the marriage between the two of them? Any comments?
That's an interesting one to say, because it depends, because you have two different protocols working together here. You have the AI protocol trying to work with the protocol of the blockchain. I see where the merit can be, but I do believe to actually have the trust bases, it might have to be spread over different networks that's holding different things, one for education, one for medical or something like that, that would actually make it more efficient. Because trying to do an AI system with all that data, even with the mega computers, I don't think you'll be able to process all that kind of information. I think we're a few years ahead before we can look at that, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. And, so we have the blockchain with encryption and security. We've got AI being able to look at massive amounts of data, and AI is such a broad term. We talk about unsupervised, semi-supervised artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways that we can skin it. The one thing is we do know is there's a lot of data coming at us, and we're going to need to be dealing with this in an effective and efficient manner in order to make our lives, look at the supply chain, right? During this pandemic, we are at the most advanced stage we've ever been, and we couldn't even get a roll of toilet paper. What's wrong with that picture, right? It's kind of interesting. So listen, we're coming to the top of the hour. Alex, closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
You can reach me on supercap.io and also on LinkedIn. And closing thoughts: be active and have a critical perspective, and just follow the money, because that will give you all the answers.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Tony?
I think I think I'll just add one thing. Alexis just said, okay, I would agree, follow the money, but I also would say follow the problems, okay, because the problems usually give the solutions. Every problem becomes a solution. As you just said with the supply chain, this is where the people the demand was there, but nobody could supply it. So whoever can supply it will dominate the marketplace. Okay, I do believe the NFT market is in this stage we were during 2000, at the early age of crypto, with the boom and everything like that. There will be a crash, but I do believe there's an opportunity there. So if people want to contact me, LinkedIn, and drop me there. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just drop me a message, and I'm more than happy to have a chat and people to reach out. So,
thank you very much. Yeah, thanks to the both of you. This is a brave new world. We've seen a lot of things change over the last 2.5 years. We've seen more of a democratization opportunity. StreamYard was founded in 2018. Zoom to be able to connect and share ideas and thoughts over the last a couple of years. Over 300 million daily active users today. Blockchain is an incredible opportunity to be able to make things more secure, more efficient, and more effective. Data is around us. We are in a state of infobesity. So startups that are out there, look at ways you can manage that data in a more effective, efficient, and safe way. To each one of you out there, stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. My name is Gary Fowler, and it was an honor to be the host today. And thank you to both my guests, Tony and Alex, for joining. And thanks to the entire VCTV team for making this show possible. Believe in your dreams, go out and get them, and make a difference.
Here.